Today's lesson is on adding mixed numbers. We're going to find the sum, and we want to write our answer in simplest form. So for number 1, we have 3 3/4 plus 4 1/3. The first step is we need to look to see if we have a common denominator. We have a denominator of 4 and a denominator of 3. Those are not the same, so we need to find our least common denominator or our least common multiple so that we can add these mixed numbers. So for 4 and 3, our least common denominator or least common multiple would be 12. For the first fraction, 4 times 3 gives us 12. So 3 times 3 would be 9. So our first mixed number is now 3 and 9/12. For our second mixed number, our denominator is 3, so we're going to multiply by 4 to get 12. We will also multiply our numerator by 4, and 1 times 4 is 4. So our second mixed number is 4 and 4/12. Now we can add our fractions. Since we have a common denominator, we add our numerators. 9 plus 4 is 13. So we have 13/12. And then we add our whole numbers. 3 plus 4 is 7. 13/12 is an improper fraction. So we need to simplify 13/12 and make it into a mixed number. So we'll do 13 divided by 12. 12 goes into 13 one time, and 1 times 12 is 12. When we subtract, we will get 1. So we'll have 1 and 1/12. 1 and 1/12 is the same thing as 13/12. But you can't forget that we already had 7 as our whole number. So now we need to take this 7, that's our whole number, and now the 1 that is also a whole number, and add them up. And 7 plus 1 is 8. And then we also have the 1/12 that is still left for our fraction. So 7 and 13/12 would equal 8 and 1/12. Now for number 2, we have 5 2/5 plus 3 6/7. So our first step is to find a common denominator. We have 5 and 7, so our least common denominator or our least common multiple would be 35. 5 times 7 is 35, so we multiply our first fraction by 7. The whole number stays the same, and now for our numerator we have 14, and for our denominator we have 35. And now we're going to add our second mixed number. Our denominator for our second mixed number is 7, so we're going to multiply that by 5. We'll also multiply the numerator by 5. Our whole number will stay the same, so we still have our 3, and then 6 times 5 is 30, and our denominator is 35. Now we're going to add our fractions. Since our denominator is the same, we add the numerators. 14 plus 30 is 44. So we have 44 35ths, and now we add our whole numbers. 5 plus 3 is 8. You will notice that 44 35ths is an improper fraction, so we need to simplify that. So we'll do 44 divided by 35. 35 goes into 44 one time. 1 times 35 is 35. And when we subtract, we're going to get 9. So this would be 1 and 9/35. We can't forget that we had 8 as our whole number for our mixed number earlier. Now we have 1 as our whole number. So we need to add the 8 plus the 1, and we'll get 9. And then we also have the fraction, which was 9/35. So 8 and 44 35ths would equal 9 and 9/35. Now for number 3, we have 2 7/8 plus 1 1/2. So our first step is to get our common denominator, which is going to be 8. Since our first fraction already has an 8 as the denominator, this mixed number will stay the same. The fraction will not change. So 2 7/8. And for our second fraction, we're going to have to multiply by 4 so we can get 8 in the denominator. The whole number stays the same. It stays a 1. Our numerator is now 4 because 1 times 4 is 4. And our denominator is 8. Now we can add our fractions. Since our denominator is now the same, we add the numerators. 7 plus 4 is 11. So we're going to have 11/8. And then we add our whole numbers. 2 plus 1 is 3. So we have 3 and 11/8. 11/8 is an improper fraction, so we need to simplify it. We will do that by dividing 11 by 8. And 8 goes into 11 one time. 1 times 8 is 8. And when we subtract 11 minus 8 is 3. So 11/8 is 1 3/8. Again, we can't forget that we need to take this 1 and add it to the 3 that we already had. So 3 plus 1 is 4. And then we have our fraction 3/8. So 3 11/8 is equal to 4 3/8. And now for number 4, we have 4 3/5 plus 2 2/3. Our denominator, we have 5 and 3, would need to be 15 because our least common denominator or our least common multiple of 5 and 3 is 15. So we will multiply our first fraction by 3. Our whole number stays the same, so we have 4. 3 times 3 is 9. And 5 times 3 is 15. And then we're going to add our second mixed number. Our denominator is 3, so we would multiply by 5 to get 15. We will also multiply the numerator by 5. Our whole number will stay the same. It stays 2. 2 times 5 is 10. And 3 times 5 is 15. Now, since we have the same denominator, we can add our numerators. 9 plus 10 is 19. So we have 19/15. And then we add our whole numbers. 4 plus 2 is 6. 19/15 is an improper fraction, so we need to make that into a mixed number. We'll do that by dividing 19 divided by 15. 15 goes into 19 one time, and 1 times 15 is 15. When we subtract, we're going to get 4. So I'd have 1 4/15. And now we can't forget that we take this 1 that we just got and we add it to the 6 that we already had. So 6 plus 1 is 7, and then we have 4/15. So 6 19/15 equals 7 4/15.